Ukikosa kushikana, mutashindwa na huyu mtu. Na hatutaki kuingia kwa wheelbarrow. I do not want.
Wakisema wasipoungana, huyu hasla atawanyorosha mapema asubuhi.
Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka will support Raila Amolo Odinga for the third time. I would rather go to Sekuru, my friend.
Wengine wanasema ati hawawezi kuniunga mkono. Mimi si nimeuliza wewe uniunge mkono? Mimi sijatangaza.
I have done much more than I was able to do even in my first term. Why?
I am all alone, cries Deputy President William Ruto after the president hinted to supporting a NASA candidate as two former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi maintained that NASA is dead. Who shall it be taking the president's seat 13 months to come as the 2022 race gets heated? Wait still, Reverend Francis Atwoli has also said we will not have any election in 2022 if there will be no BBI. This is just a tip of the iceberg now of what we've just lined up for you this evening on Tipping Point.
And if there will be no BBI, there will be no election. That one I can tell you for free. Because we don't want to die. We have been dying after 5 years. And workers are the people 2017. It is us who proposed revisiting of our 2010 constitution. According to me, the ruling that was made by the High Court judges had nothing to do with BBI. It was 100% political. If anything happened, they didn't give us a ruling, we'll still move to Supreme Court. If we can't get it, then we will have to start it afresh, and we will also extend the time. We will appeal through our parliamentarians to extend the election.
Brother Francis Atwoli there. Good evening and welcome to Tipping Point. We have lined up for you greatest political analyst in the country, Eric Gallo, Jim India and Zach Babere, who together will be looking at the 2022 succession politics in just a minute. First things first, should the elections be postponed to allow BBI passage? Should the elections be postponed to allow BBI passage? SMSs on 111 444 111 or at Switch TV Kenya at Fred Mwitiriri on Twitter. All right, quick reaction. Jim India, we start with you. Now, you've heard what Brother Francis Atwoli has said. What do you make of that?
We're giving Atwoli too much airtime. Number one, we must know that Atwoli is not a legal brain. He is not entitled to interpret he's not entitled to interpret the Constitution in any capacity. And as such, he's just one of those pedestrian analysts who decided to analyze a court ruling, which I am sure he probably has not read, to say that we cannot have the BBI before the next election. A document, the BBI document, which does not talk about electoral reforms to begin with. So we are saying that the reason why we were in the state where we were in 2017 is because there were fundamental flaws in the electoral process. Then there's a document that came out of that system that does not at all talk about the fundamental flaws in that electoral process, but we're being told that we have to halt the next election so that we deal with this document, which we have no idea what it is solving. I think that is, to even discuss Atwoli and his interpretation of the law is a disservice to our viewers.
Zach, we have seen not once, not twice, not thrice, enough leaders, including Baba himself, including very high-ranking officials in the government, going to Kajiado to visit Francis Atwoli. So this is an opinion leader. This is somebody who is speaking on behalf of somebody. I believe so. Do you believe so?
I believe so, Mtilili. You know, Atwoli is speaking on behalf of someone. Because you all know what Atwoli has been doing in the country since the handshake. He's someone who is siding with one particular person. And in a certain group, the one that we usually say ile ya kujikusanyana kwa kona.
Vijana fulani.
Yes, Francis Atwoli, to me I think he is not matching with the current generation. Actually, he's too old to give an advice currently. The only thing we can do with Atwoli... No, I want to say on all it's my views. It's not even a Switch TV views.
Yes.
Francis Atwoli is somebody who we should not be giving airtime, as my colleague is saying. is trying to mislead Kenyans. This is a democratic country that people need a democracy. There is a one time Barack Obama said, why will people change a constitution to stay in power? It happens in Africa. And
Quite a
Kenya,
lot. Quite a lot.
Yeah, and Kenya is going to be an example of those kind of countries. And why is it that, what is so special that they think in BBI that can make for us not allow our people to have their democracy?
He's saying, Francis Atwoli, he's saying that the premise of the BBI is to make sure that there is peace in the country, that we've been lacking peace every 5 years. That is what he's saying.
You know, Mtili, let me tell you this. Peace in the country begins with we ourselves, not a document. The monkeys are the same. Actually, it's only the forest is
that's changed.
Yeah, but the monkeys are the same. What we need here to do is our own integrity. It's our own. It's me and you and other people to make the Kenya move. But we're bringing in saying a document. Okay, after bringing in the document, what is there that we have to implement it? How will it be implemented? Bringing a document and implementation is a different thing.
I think, let me
So
just
to
add
me,
here,
you know,
let's be careful with setting Kenyans up for what we've seen over the past. We have people like called peacepreneurs. And so these are people who preach peace over justice. These are people who believe that it is important for us to be at peace, but it is not important for us to pursue justice at all costs. So we are being told that BBI will bring about peace. And we are being told it is important for us to be at peace. And I believe that it is important for us to be at peace. But we cannot talk about peace without talking about justice itself. And justice can only be achieved if we agree that the problem in our country has been the systemic flaws in the electoral process. There's abuse of the security forces by the executive. If that is not solved, if we do not take care of that system, then no matter how much peace we preach, our people can never have legitimate confidence that their vote counts and that their voices are heard when they cast the ballot.
Jim,
Yes.
this is not the first time we are hearing some senior guys in Jubilee Party especially, being led by David Murathe, saying that the president is too young to retire. Are we seeing a pattern that we've seen across the whole of Africa? President nearing their term, the end of their term, adding themselves some time like we saw in Rwanda the other day. Is this what we are seeing in the country?
So, Fred, we must also be a bit truthful. Elections can be postponed. I mean, let's also not assume that elections cannot be postponed. In 2013, when the election was to be held in August, there was a court ruling that made the elections to be held in March. So elections can be postponed. That happens, but they have to be done within the confines of the law, and there have to be legitimate reasons. At that time, the reason was that Parliament had not served its term. If the argument that was being brought forward was along those lines, because we know that the assumption the Constitution is making is that if an election was held on the second Tuesday of August in 2017, then the next election will be held on second Tuesday of August 2022, then Parliament shall have served a 5-year term, because that is how the definition of a term is 5 years. We, however, know that after the 2nd of August, there was a repeat election on the 26th, and the president was not sworn in until November. So there's about 3 months that Parliament lost. Those 3 months, the question that I know will go to the courts and Kenyans will have to face is, do we either compensate parliamentarians for those 3 months so that we hold our elections in August, or do we continue paying them till August and hold till they finish their 3 terms in November and hold it? So there's a legal question there, which is no doubt is true. There's a legal question around the full term of Parliament vis-a-vis the set date by the Constitution. The Constitution assumed that we'll be operating in a perfect system, but clearly our system is not perfect. So there will be questions that the courts will have to grapple with, but we cannot grapple with those questions through statements. The BBI is not one of those questions.
Let me come to you, Zach. Listen, look at our members of Parliament. Look at our governors. Look at our MCAs. We have seen over the years that most of them do not make it back to Parliament. We've seen that. It's been a trend. In Nyeri County, only one MP came back to Parliament. Only one MCA came back to Parliament. Majority of governors across even Central Province, the Central area, did not come back. So they know they're not going to come back. A majority of them are not going to come back. Do you think there is one of them who is going to say no to an extension of 1 year? Do you think?
To me, the kind of politicians we have, majority of them will say, let us extend. But they will be unfair to a common mwananchi. Because majority of them actually are going home.
Yeah.
Mostly those who don't speak on behalf of a common mwananchi. That's why they are usually sent back home. Allow me say something here. See, the extension of a term, they may base it on that we extended the election. There was a repeat of an election, and now there's some 3 months somewhere that was left. But that will not be a big base of argument. The issue is we follow our constitution. And since that we have a government that never respect the rule of law, that never respect our constitution, they may end up actually...
They may disagree with that.
Yeah, they may disagree with that and they do their things that they are used to do them. And since that will come and be tabled in parliament, trust me, Mtilili, it will be voted. It will be voted and the term will end up being extended.
Hold that thought.
Now,
hold that thought. Member of Parliament of Lurambi had this to say from what Brother Toli said earlier today.
People gave me 5 years, not 6, not 7. It's not in the constitution. They voted me as their member of parliament for 5 years. And honestly speaking, if we extend our term, even by a minute, even by an hour, we will be robbers. We will go down in the history of our country as people who robbed Kenyans their constitutional mandates. We will be worse off than the Al Capone robber of Chicago.
Jim, is this one amongst the many who are going to say no?
I do not think so. What we've seen before every election year, there's been a pattern where Parliament decides to increase their salary. And I can assure you that that is in the pipeline. And normally, it's a very easy way for the executive to negotiate with parliamentarians. Increase your salary, but in the process, allow us to extend our term. And we know that Parliament have a way of voting with their stomachs. And so, as such, I do not think that even the honorable member would say no to a salary increase just to extend their term. However, Fred,
yes,
the question here is not. I think Parliament. We must agree that the judiciary is our last line of defense as a country. And we have seen it time and again. We cannot count on this parliament. Every time they've had a test, they have failed that test. They've had a test to ensure that there's 2/3 majority. They have we get equity in parliament. They have failed that test. Every time that there's been a law that is draconian and they were to shoot it down, they have failed that test. Anytime that this government has asked them to increase their debt ceiling, they have failed to refuse, to question government not to increase that debt ceiling. So every time, we cannot rely on parliament to do the right thing. That one I refuse. What we can do is to now trust that our judiciary is our last line of defense and stand with the judiciary.
Our judiciary. Now, let me get into, you wanted to react to that?
Yes.
All right, please react to that.
But you know, we cannot say that judiciary is our last line of defense. Our judiciary has been robbed. Our judiciary by now, it is under control. That's the truth.
From who?
Our judiciary is now under control, under the executive. They're giving, by now, that's what we see the appointment of the judges, how it went. By now, our judiciary will be a phone call, Mutirili. I'm telling you, Fred, it will be over a phone call and everything is done. Kenyans should not bank on judiciary as it is as per now. But now what we need is an election for us to come out with leaders to make sure that we come with a strong judiciary and so our judiciary can have confidence of
Jim, why are you laughing to these sentiments?
Because
I'm just laughing because number one, this is rumor mongering. You know, to say that the judiciary is a phone call away is rumor mongering because there's no evidence that we can table here to say that.
Absolutely.
Even the president who has refused to appoint those 6 judges cannot table any evidence. Nonetheless, we are saying that we need an election. I do not know what magic we want to vote in this election that we failed to do in 2017 twice, and that we failed to do in 2013. I do not know what awakening the voters have now, that we are in such a hurry to do this election. There is an assumption here that we cannot trust the judiciary, we cannot trust parliament, we can only trust the voter. But can we really trust the voter based on the last three decisions that we as voters have made?
You know, we can trust the judiciary basing on one thing. If only the executive will be able to respect what the judiciary want it done. What the judiciary want done to the people. Why am I saying so? Maraga, the former Chief Justice, gave away that we have to dissolve parliament. But it was not done. It was constitutional way. And you have mentioned it, my friend.
But that was not a ruling. That was just a statement.
That was a statement,
yeah.
But it's what should be done, actually. It was not done. It was defended. There is another thing here.
Because we do not have the judiciary here, and we and we don't have the executive here. Let's get back to something that has been trending the whole of last week and this week, and actually the Deputy President has spoken about it. That members of Parliament are proposing from IBC what was postponed in 2017. They are proposing that from the MCA all the way to the governor, to the president, all of them must have a degree. A law that was passed in 2013, but was not actualized in 2017. But they now want it actualized in 2022. Do you think we are going to see this into light?
It could come to light. I think a lot of the sitting and incumbent politicians did, during this term, a lot of them have gone into institutions of learning and they've had their degrees. So it could happen. But the bigger question here is that we are making leadership exclusive. And we are saying that, because remember, Fred, a majority of our population is uneducated, do not have a degree. Majority of our population.
We only have 1% people with a degree.
So we are saying that if only 1% have degree, then only the 1%
can lead us.
And so brings the whole question of what is democracy. If democracy is the rule of the majority, but we are saying that that majority cannot run for elections, not even for the MCA at the ward level. I think that, for me, if we did serious reforms in the last 10 years, to ensure that we expand access to education, and then at a level where 50% of this population have degrees, then that law would make sense. But as it stands, it is neither near or there. We have people with economics degrees. We have people who are called Dr. So-and-so who are in this parliament.
Jim, are you saying that so many young people have gone to school, that they should not be aiming as such to be leaders? Because what we essentially will be telling people is in the villages, that you can wake up one day, and we know going to parliament is making laws. We can wake up one day and be an MCA. Is that what you're telling people?
What I'm telling people is that in our villages, we have traditional African societies operated with serious laws. There were laws and there were consequences, and those laws were followed to the letter. The making of laws and the following and obedience to that law has nothing to reflect on your degrees. Our great-grandparents did not have degrees. A majority in our villages where we have Nyumba Kumi initiatives and it is working, those people do not have degrees. Our chiefs do not have degrees, yet they maintain law and order in those locals. The assumption here that, for me, a law degree is important if you're going to argue a case in court. A law degree is important if you're deciding a case in court.
It is important if you're making laws.
It is important.
Themselves.
But you see, these people do not make any laws. How does parliament work? Parliamentarians have clerks. It is important if you're going to be a clerk to a parliamentarian that you have the degree.
You have a degree in law.
Not in law. In
anything.
Law. If it's an economic, policy, you need to have an economic degree. If it's an environmental policy, you need to have an environmental degree, so that we do not assume that we have parliamentarians who did not go to school and are making laws. The making of laws, it is the legal brains who make those laws, the clerks in parliament. We have the technical people in parliament who do that difficult part. Our members of parliament do the bit of
discussing it.
Passing it.
Now, Zach,
yes.
Tuzungumzie yule jamaa yuko kule jijini leo ambaye ameamua kuwa MCA mwaka unaokuja. Tunamwambia kwamba lazima uwe na cheti, uwe na degree yako, uende Nairobi, uende Maseno, uende Garissa University na uwe na degree. Hivyo ndivyo tunamwambia yule ambaye yuko kule mashinani.
To me, sioni shida. But it should be all inclusive. I agree with what the deputy president has told us. It should be all inclusive. Alakini tukue na we don't want us to have that we keep on postponing from 2013, 2017 we keep on postponing things.
But aren't the people saying so? If you're postponing, it means that people are saying
people
you do not
should
want
go.
it to...
Yeah, people should go to schools. Now we are giving you time to go to school. Nobody has said that he's not going to school. Nobody has said that we should give them time to study. All we should do, let us give them opportunity. Everyone can lead. But let us remember, let me tell my learned friend here one thing. Let us remember, we have committees, budget committees, health committees.
And they sit down
to make things. They are being summoned by parliaments. Those who are being chosen to question those kind of issues, and also in those committees, let an act come out that they must have a degree. All they must have. You cannot question me. You cannot question me.
Yes.
I didn't tell you not. Okay, let us be fair. There are those who didn't go to school because they lack fare. They lack not fare. I mean they lack school fee.
Yes.
But let us say for the case of a member of parliament, you have been a member of parliament for 5 years. You want to go back. You have all the money to study. We have our deputy president who was able to do a PhD while in a busy kind of a calendar. You have been you want to go back to be in a committee. You call me as a PS with my PhD. You have nothing apart from Form 4, and you are questioning me about let us be realistic. We told the Kenyans the truth. You want to question me about what the budget
policies
says and the policies.
We need to strengthen the institution of parliament. When you talk about the institution of parliament, I'm talking about the clerks in those parliaments. Because if you have a budget committee,
Jim,
yes.
Let me disagree with you on this part. I have covered enough committees, and they call in these CSs, PSs, who are policymakers in ministries, and there are issues to do with Auditor General, and these are policy issues. There are things that needs to be explained. What are you telling parliamentarians? That they cannot be able to question a doctor who comes before them, that even the structure of their question cannot be able, the PS cannot understand. Is that what you're telling?
But you see the problem, we are addressing a very different problem. Parliamentary committees, anytime they summon the CSs and PSs, it is never that they have any real issues to ask the PS.
So normally, what are they asking?
That's why I'm saying we need to strengthen the institution of parliament. So that if we have a learned fellow, those people appear before very learned fellows who ask them very stupid questions. All right? So the question is,
my friend,
we need to strengthen
my director is telling me we should go. My director is telling me we should go.
In fact, we should have concluded that meeting. Before even we go, let me answer this guy well. There is an MCA in the village, as you have said. An MCA who maybe is a class 8 dropout. You have a governor who is a PhD holder. And you want to question this governor about how mismanagement of funds. You are given a budget, like now, tell us what, explain it.
He's saying
question
that
me.
The only thing
and
they
you
ask
cannot
is
explain.
Being an MC is not just about questioning the governor.
Take
it's
a
about
short break.
implementing policies.
Let us be fair to other learned fellows.
You're speaking from a high horse in a place of privilege as a learned person. A majority of this country does not have the same privilege as you.
That's what
I would be the most stupid fellow on the earth to go and support the third time a presidential candidate, all right? Without a measure of reciprocity. As of now, it is unthinkable that one Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka will support Raila Amolo Odinga for the third time. I would rather go to Sekuru, my friend.
Okay, welcome back. This is Tipping Point. My name is Frederick Muitereri. Our sign language interpreters, Tracy Dorcas and Michael Maida. Now, we are having such a time in studio and we are talking about succession politics. And we've just heard what Kalonzo Musyoka, the Wiper leader, has just said. And Jim, let me start with you. Jim, you've heard what Kalonzo, he was speaking to a local TV station, and this is what he had to say, that he is not going to support anyone in NASA, and especially Baba. do you think he will go that direction in 2022? He will go alone. Can he make it?
He can't make it, but Kalonzo also
Why?
has a...
Why?
Just because number one, he does not have the economic war chest needed to run a national election. He has also not penetrated the breadth and depth of this country as a national leader. And so he suffers from the same thing that Musalia Mudavadi suffers from, where he troops around Western Kenya every other day and is not able to penetrate any other part of this country. And so running a presidential election, saying that you will not support someone else is one thing, but we can dare him to, of course, launch a presidential campaign, set up a secretariat, say tomorrow that he's running for president, and go for it. I mean, he will get votes, obviously, but he also has a record of not sticking to his words. So I will not be surprised if he changes and does something else.
Do you think, Zach, do you think that we are going to see a coalition of NASA coming back to life? Because they have said it's dead. ODM has said enough times that it's dead.
In fact, NASA is dead. I can confirm that NASA is really dead. And it's dead because of the confusion, whereby a government turns in to support an opposition. The moment the leader of opposition goes in to work with the government, that means opposition is dead and opposition is NASA. So NASA is dead. In Kenya, we don't have an opposition. So NASA is kind of dead. Now, since that NASA is being controlled on what to say by the handshake issues to fight one person who is the deputy president.
Is it?
Yes, that is exactly what is happening, and who actually people have accepted his ideologies. So these people, what Kalonzo is saying, he's having a fact. What he's saying, he cannot keep on supporting someone for how many years? 3 years. You keep on supporting for the third time. Like you have supported for the first time, imeenda vibaya. Second and third. What is happening here is also telling you one information that even if he supported Raila Amolo Odinga, Raila will never win an election in this country. So that's why he is already declaring that he will not. Let me finish this.
Yes.
Kalonzo, but I won't also be surprised if tomorrow he will change and come up with that kukusanyana coalition. This guy is
one Kenya coalition.
Yeah, this guy is somebody who tomorrow he will be like, hey, wewe sasa you will be left out, kuja tufanya hivi. It's all about money. What do you know about Kalonzo? And he will
well,
move
he
in.
cannot substantiate that. He cannot substantiate.
He will move in.
Jim, we have seen NASA Brigade, and this is, let's just go to what Baba had to say about the sentiments that were made by Kalonzo. This is what Baba had to say in Mombasa today.
Mimi nimesema sijatangaza mimi nataka kusimama urais. Nilitangaza. Lakini wengine wanasema ati hawawezi kuniunga mkono. Mimi si nimeuliza wewe uniunge mkono? Mimi sijatangaza. Bado wanaanza kutetemeka. Naanza kubweka. Subiri bwana, mambo bado. Sisi tunaangalia kwanza mambo ya bibi. Mahakama ilitupeleka BBI kwa half time. Rege ijasimama, rege imeenda kwa half time. Sivyo? Endelee.
That is ODM party leader Raila Odinga. Now we are asking you the question of the day: should the elections be postponed to allow BBI passage? Should the elections be postponed to allow the BBI passage? Talk to us on 111 444 111 or at Switch TV Kenya, at Fred Muitiriri on Twitter. Now, who voted for this actually? I don't think he has the following to talk about BBI. BBI will not see the light of the day. That is Hihu Jr. You have heard what Raila Odinga has said. Is there a possibility, even the minimal possibility, that we are going to see the coalition of Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, and Raila Odinga again?
It is possible. At least 3 of the names you've mentioned are people who've relied on the weight of Raila Odinga and on his popularity to remain relevant. Some of those people left alone cannot win an election anywhere. And so it is possible that for their relevance, they would claw back to Raila Odinga. However, these individuals also harbor political ambitions. And they see this as a ripe time, because if you look at what's going to happen is we have a handover, basically, from one president to another. And so there is a window of opportunity for anybody, really, who can marshal proper support around this country and put up a proper campaign to take up this mantle of leadership. And so the fact that they are harboring ambitions and the fact that they have been at this for a while means that they could dare to go it alone. So I will not get into the speculation game of saying, you know, they could not, just because it's selfish, it's personal interest at the end of the day. And where interests align, that is where politicians find themselves. As at now, the way Kalonzo Musyoka is speaking, he's simply saying my interests do not align with the interests of Raila Odinga. If tomorrow he wakes up and their interests align, they will definitely work together. If tomorrow Raila Odinga wakes up and his interests with William Ruto align, they will work together. It is a question of interest for these guys.
Zach, do you think Raila Odinga will ever support any other candidate?
Raila Odinga will never.
He supported
any candidate.
He supported Mwai Kibaki in 2002.
In 2002, after supporting Mwai Kibaki, Raila Odinga has been thirsty for presidency. And I'm telling what Raila Odinga, what he's saying is that, in short, without BBI, he will not be able to make it for presidency. Or he will not be able to make it to government. That's why he wants the BBI, so that he can get a slot. Maybe I'm sure he cannot go for prime minister again, because he will only go with a coalition. He will only go for presidency. My colleague is saying, they have won. Without, if Kalonzo are left alone, they will never win an election. But they have never even won together. They will never win, even if they join hands. The problem is Raila Odinga is relying on BBI to come up with a coalition of dividing some positions in executive.
Yeah.
And being that you think that Raila Odinga can wake up one day and say, I'm supporting Kalonzo Musyoka or Musalia Mudavadi, to me, it will be we are dreaming about that.
Jim, do you think this will ever happen in our lifetime? Maybe in the next, because let me tell you, earlier today, I was speaking to former Embakasi MP, and he was telling me the ODM as ODM party, they will not allow anyone else to be given that mantle. Baba still has one shot.
So Baba has always had one shot. That has been a very strategic way of him saying, hini ya mwisho to allow me to do this.
Yeah.
Can he support another candidate? He has proven in the past that he can do that. Should he support another candidate, that candidate would definitely win. I think should he do it, we would probably have a very different narrative in 2022. The scenarios that have been built right now around 2022 have been around William Ruto and Raila Odinga. Should Raila Odinga disrupt that scenario, we would have a very different ballgame, in my opinion. He has an opportunity as a great statesman to ensure that the generational mantle, that he's able to pass the baton on to the next generation. Because remember, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi are the next generation if in comparison to Raila Odinga. He has an opportunity to set those guys up very well and set a record of how it is that leaders can exit the national political stage by letting in and leveraging on to the others to come on board. He has the opportunity to do it. Whether he'll do it or not is another question altogether. But I can see how that would be a perfect scenario in our case to have a very fair election and to have an election that will be purely based on issues, as people have been saying, because the moment you bring Raila Odinga and William Ruto into an election, you remove all the issues and all you have left is the tribes.
Earlier this week, the president hinted on supporting a candidate in the NASA coalition, and this is what he had to say. Director, if you have that clip, please play for us.
I have done much more than I was able to do even in my first term. Why? Because I have been able to focus myself working in conjunction with my colleagues, and being able to focus on the development agenda, not the political agenda.
Those who were at State House, this is when the president met the people from Eastern, where he'll be visiting very soon. And those who are in that meeting say that he hinted on supporting a NASA coalition. Do you think this will happen? That this is the beginning of the end of their marriage with Deputy President William Ruto?
It's not the beginning of the end. The marriage, the end came earlier, actually. They're never together. I can tell you that, my friend.
You want to say the marriage ended long time ago?
Long time ago.
But the deputy president has been saying, had been supporting the president for a long time.
Let me tell you, the issue is we have a very kind deputy president who is a leader, not even a politician. He's a leader that Kenyans really need. He doesn't want to put a nation in that state like we are not working with my boss. He respects his boss and is giving him his time. But in a real sense, his boss is trying to sideline him. And already, as he has declared that he's going to support one of the NASA candidates, which means a president supporting an opposition party, which means that's kind of we'll bring our country into some type of state.
Before you react, this is what the deputy president had to say in a tweet, and I quote, Elcho Gaivafa. That is in Kikuyu, Mwadhani. So what happens to Dhurakus, the Kumera contingent, the 8 million of us? None, no youth, no woman, no man of the 8 million who woke up early and voted 3 times for UK and William Ruto ticket merit support. Sawa tu, tutajipanga na support ya Mungu.
As I was saying.
So, Jim, my question is, he's saying, yes, we've seen the differences between the president, of course, and the deputy president for a long time. We've seen it playing in the public gallery. My question is, we have seen for the very first time the deputy president saying he has seen there is no support from the president. What does that mean for him?
Number one, I do not know why we had an assumption that the president is bound to support the deputy president to become president.
He said that. He said that when they were. He said that
at a political rally where they also say they will build 9 stadiums.
No.
Yeah, where they say they will triple this. Where they triple, they will triple the economy. Where they say that they will create 5 million jobs. So they said all those things. So let's not go into what they said.
That's
a non-issue here.
When they said all these that they were going to bring the jobs and these stadiums, remember, the president is the person who is in charge, is the chief here, is the CEO. Without him, the deputy president can do only less things in the office.
Would you hear me now? So
okay,
as I was saying,
they
said a lot of things which we know have not come to fruition, as is their characteristic. He's not bound to any of those things as we have seen. The problem here is the kind of entitlement that we are seeing, where leaders feel entitled to be supported by person X, person Y. They feel entitled to be supported by a certain community, that because I am Kikuyu, I must support a Kikuyu candidate, and my Kikuyu candidate feels entitled to my vote. This kind of entitlement we have to do away with this entitlement, that individuals have to, and he's talked about merit. If the deputy president feels he merits and he has what it takes, he doesn't need anybody's support. He needs the support of Kenyans. So let him stop all this whining and come to Kenyans.
In fact, he doesn't win the president's support.
Let him come. Yeah, he doesn't need it. So let him come to the Kenyans, and so that we stop saying Uhuru has stopped supporting William Ruto. And of course, again, you said the deputy president is very kind, and we've seen out of his kindness, he's decided to abscond duty and keep getting taxpayers' money.
He did. No.
You're saying he should resign?
He should.
Why should he? No, he's not. He has not absconded duty.
But if
there is nothing that is delegated to him.
If he's not delegated in duty, like he's saying, if what he was doing, like rightly he said that they were given to the Interior Minister Fred Matiang'i, what should he do?
What Jaramogi did in 1966. He said,
resign.
He said, Mr. President,
Mr. President,
I have seen that I am no longer useful in this government. I no
Let
longer
me
have
tell you
roles.
why he should-
I cannot keep earning taxpayers' money by doing nothing. And then going to the same taxpayer and complaining that this government is not working. The president clearly now has 3 priorities. The BBI, the Big Four agenda if it still exists, and perhaps a legacy, whatever that would mean. The deputy president is not supporting any of those 3 things. So
The
he's
issue
not
here
supporting
is-
the president's agenda.
Zach,
Yes.
why shouldn't the deputy president, who clearly are not working with the president, like you have rightly said,
Yes.
why should he still be in an office being paid by taxpayers?
Because he was elected by Kenyans and is an elective post, is not an appointment post. And since that he was elected, the president himself deciding to sideline him, that is the president's problem. But the deputy president is able to do other duties that maybe some Kenyans are not able to see. The few Kenyans are not able to see. And since that the Kenyans, everyone knows that the president brought in the CS Matiang'i.
Hold still, Zach. Hold still. As a Kenyan who keeps telling us that he's supporting the hustlers, he's supporting the local mwananchi,
Yes.
the people who are paying taxes. Seeing that you're not doing anything to those people as you were elected, shouldn't you just resign and wait for the elections?
You should not resign because they told you to be in that office. And you getting out from that office,
You
will
want to
be
tell me
more
Kenyans
worse.
are supporting him while he's still in an office
Actually,
and not doing anything and
it's
paying?
not that he's doing something. I'm not saying he's not doing
You have
anything.
said
We have seen him trying to launch some projects. We have seen him coming out. No, let us be realistic.
We did not
We
elect
have
the
seen
deputy
him.
president to try launch project.
No, we
To
have
work.
seen him. We have seen him working by having several visitors in his office from international level.
Jim,
I can
But
Jim,
the issue
Jim,
is
Jim.
no. The issue is
let's
not
cut-
African visitors.
Let's cut this and let's listen to what Kalonzo reacted to that. Let's hear that.
We don't want to be drawn into these Jubilee fights. We don't want to be drawn into that. And as I said, if the deputy president is still a member of Jubilee, I'm sure he can reach out to the president and they have their own meeting. But to pretend they know what was discussed and what the president said, and I was there myself, and I'm normally very alert, okay? In fact, I think I have a mind that acts like a sieve. I don't remember the president saying he's going to endorse anybody.
Jim, let me start with you. In 2013, when the former President Mwai Kibaki left State House, he did not endorse anyone. Are we going to see his predecessor doing the same thing in 2022? Are there signs that he's not going to endorse anyone or he will endorse his deputy, like he said?
I think just by the reading of the president, he looks like he will still want to have a hand in who becomes the next president. He looks like he still has a bit of energy left in him, unlike the former president Mwai Kibaki, and he wants to be a bit more involved, perhaps like Barack Obama in the US, who even after 2 terms after, he's still out in the campaign.
Still very big.
He's still very big. So I think he still feels he has a role to play in guiding and shepherding the country a certain direction. So I still see the president actively participating in campaigns and in who becomes his successor in the upcoming election.
Let's talk about BBI for a minute, because they have said it was stopped by the court, and there are people who are saying perhaps the way the BBI is being forced on people's down their throats, there are articles there that can give the president a leeway in extending his term. Do you believe that?
No, I don't believe that.
You think the president will go home in 2022?
The president must go home in 2022. Not even, we don't think about that. It is a constitutional matter and he must go home in 2022. The only thing, maybe he can come back as a prime minister. If we go by BBI, for you to be a prime minister, as I understand it, what do you have to do? You have to vie as an MP for you to be a prime minister. If they're not going to change that act in the BBI.
The BBI bill.
If they're not going to change that, you have to be. Now, imagine a president who has been a president for 2 terms going again to wananchi in Gatundu saying, tafadhali nipatia as an MP. That one will be too low for him. the issue we should look at into is that we really don't, the Kenyans are being forced to support BBI, yes, for it to benefit some individuals.
But it passed through all parliaments. We cannot say Kenyans are being forced because we saw it MCAs, we saw the parliamentarians passing it.
Why did it pass? Let me tell you one thing. The MCAs were actually given 2 million, promised 2 million for car grant for them to pass the bill. And through robbing here and there, it was able to pass. And then I'm telling you, there is a report that came in that they were not able to read the BBI report.
Hold still, because I'm being told our time is over. I'll give you 30 seconds to give your final thoughts. Are we going to see a president who will, like you said, rightly said, he might be playing politics in 2022. Will we see him in government?
Leadership is a question of character, values, and influence. If a man or a woman shows no capacity to have any of those things, then they are capable of doing anything.
Are we going to see the president in government in 2022, past 2022?
We are not going to see him in government because the seat, the presidential seat is going back to the Hustler Nation. We are not going to see him back.
What a Hustler Nation.
Yes.
All right. Man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible. But man's inclination to injustice makes democracy necessary. By Reinhold Niebuhr. All right. The views expressed in this show are strictly individual views and do not portray in any way the views of Sweet TV. For myself, Frederick Mwitiriri, I had in the studio Jim India and Zach Babere. Until next time, of course, our sign language interpreters Tracy Dorcas and Michael Maithia. Do have yourself a good night.